Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're Masechtas Ksuvas daf Kuf Yud Beis, which is the last daf in the Masechta. We are going to begin on Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Beis, about 20 lines from the bottom by the two dots. Omrav Shimon ben Tachlifa, Kelach Shel Kruv. When it comes to the stalk of the cabbage, Haniach Lonu Abba, the Abba left this. And this is going up and down a ladder. In other words, he was saying that it was so tall to be able to get. V'dam enov, and the grape itself, tishte chamer, you drink it as wine. Amru lo ka'olam hazeh olam haba. This world is not comparable to the world to come. Rashi says, because of this grape, tishkeu v'lo titzarech l'darchai. You're not even going to need to press it. That's how chashuv this is. So how is this world different than olam haba? So olam hazeh yesh baitzar livtzar v'lidroich. That's very difficult for a person to squeeze and to produce wine. Olam haba maybe anova achas. All you need to bring is one grape, bikaroin in a wagon, obasfin on a boat, to manich bezavias beso, you leave it by the corner of your house, umasapik menu ki pitus gadol, and it'll be comparable to a very large keg of wine. The eights of, and it's wood that comes from this grape, masikin tachas atavshel. You can put it underneath the oven, like for firewood. Ve'enocha koil anova v'anova she'ein ba shloshim garbi yayin. That would not find a grape that does not have the ability to have 30 saw for wine in that grape. Shenamar vidam einov tishte chamer. So al tikri chamer ela chomer. What chomer is referring to a very large measurement. Rashi says kur v'shloishim saw. So a kur is 30 saw, which is what it means. Chaymer, a very large measurement. Kiyos Rabdimi Amr Siv. What does the following pasuk mean? It says Ayisrael gefen irai, that it'll tie the grape by the donkey. So it says iro with a hay. Einocha kol gefen v'gefen shemeretz Israel. There's not going to be any grapevines in Israel. She'ein sarach ir achas litzor. That a city will not need to pluck it. So on this, so again, it's showing the greatness of Eretz Yisrael. V'ashareka b'nei asaynai. So what does this mean? That there's the branch for the donkey. Einocha kol ilan sarak. There will not be a barren tree. She'eretz Yisrael she'enu moitzi master shtei asaynais. That it'll be so full that it'll take 2 donkeys to be able to carry all the stuff. The Shema term ein bo yain. Okay, fine. It's a tree that's an ilan sarak, as Rashi says, has no fruits. So maybe it doesn't mean that there's going to be any wine that can come from it. Talmud kibes that you will wash bayayin lavusha, your clothes with wine. So it does produce wine. But Shema timer eno adaim. Maybe it won't be red wine. So it says like dam, it's going to be red like blood. Maybe it will not have the capacity to intoxicate. Susai, which means to entice. Says Rashi, Lashon hasasa, shayain mesis as a shikur. Maybe the wine will have no taste. That you'll become red, the eyes from wine. Kolcheich, everyone's palate. Sheta'amoid will taste it. Armo li. You'll say li. So what does that mean? So Rashi says Ramois li beinecha, Loshin schaik u'machaik. Okay, the Shema Timer Linarim Yafel is a kanim in the Yaf. It's not going to be for the old. Talmud Lemer Leven Shinayim Michalov. That Leven Shinayim Michalov. Al Turkey Leven Shinayim Ella Leven Shanim. It means referring to someone who has years, an elderly person. Pashtikra Mai, but Mike said, well, what is the actual Pasha Pshat is pasuk. Kiyos Rav Dimi Yomer Amar Knesset Yisrael Lefnei Kodesh Baruch Hu B'nei Shalom. Hashem Ramois Be'inech Difsim Michamra, that happy is the twinkle in the eyes better than wine. V'achvili shinecha, and to show me a smile, debasim michalba, that your smile is even more beautiful than milk. Misailo Rav Yochanan Toiv Hamalbin Shinayim Lechavero Yoiser Mimashkeu Cholov. Better is it to show the white of your teeth to your friend, in other words, to show a smile, than to give milk. Shnemer L'ben Shinayim Micholov Atikri L'ben Shinayim El Liban Shinayim, the whiteness of the teeth, which shows you the importance of a smile can go a very long way. Rav Chia Bar Ada Makri Dardiki, the Reish Lakish. So Rav Chia, which we mentioned before, was a teacher, and he taught young students. Havi Ipagar Tulasi Yomi Volasa. So there was 3 days that went by. Rashi says Loshen Bittel. He didn't come for 3 days. Kiyasa Amalei Amai Ipagart. Why did you not come for 3 days? Amalei Dolis Achas Heniachli. There was this one grapevine that was left for me by my Abba. Ubetzarti Mimenu Yom Rishon. And for 1 day when I was cutting it, it took Gimel Meyos Eshkolos 300 branches, or clusters. Eshkol Lagarov, an Eshkol, a cluster for each. Lagarov Yom Sheni, but starting Gimel Meyos Eshkolos, I harvested 300 clusters. Shtei Eshkolos Lagarov. Yom Shlishi, but starting Mimenu Gimel Meyos Eshkolos, I gathered 300 clusters in Sholosh Eshkolos Lagarov. Okay. And I actually had to discard more than half of it because it was so much. If it wasn't you missed teaching my kid's Torah, because again he was the Dardiki of Reish Lakish, Havi Avditfei, you would have done more. If it was for the fact that you skipped this, you would have actually not skipped. If you would have continued teaching, and that's chus, you would have been able to have been given more. Rami Bar Yecheskel Ikule Lebnei Barak Azinu Lahani Ize. He saw these goats to Ka'achlan Tute Teene. They're eating under this fig tree. The Katantif Duvsha Miteena, that it was dripping honey from this date. The chalba tayiv mino, and there was milk that was dripping from it. The milk and honey were getting mixed together, which Amar Hainu is vaskal b'davash. So we see, in fact, this is how Eretz Yisrael was blessed, as a land flowing with milk and honey. Amar Yaakov ben Dustoy Mulud Oinai Shloish Milim, from Mulud to Ono was 3 milim. Pamachas kidamti b'neshev. One time I got up early. V'lachdi ad karsulai b'dvash shel te'enim, and I only got up until literally the ankle of the honey of these te'enim of figs. I actually saw flowing milk and honey in Sipari. V'havi shitzer milin a shitzer milin. That's how great it was. 60 mil by 60. So he saw again the Zavaskal Davash in all of Eretz Yisrael, as we continue to Kufyud Beis Amud Aleph. V'havi kimi beik michse ad akra detul banki, which happens to be Chaf Beis Parsei Orka, 22 parsangs in length. Ufusya Shita Parsi, and its width was 6. So going back for a second, very fascinating. Again, we saw the importance of a teacher. A teacher can't miss school, because if he wouldn't have missed anything, then he would have been blessed with more. So the question is, as we saw, he was mafker more than half anyway. So what's the difference? So I wrote over here, true, but Reish Lakish's teaching, the koyach of chinuch, is teaching merit. That's what I wrote. What teaching meant. So even though it's true, he wouldn't have necessarily have gained anything, but he still should have come. It's interesting, something to think about. Exactly what the whole point was of, you should have stayed and taught. But again, it certainly shows the koyach of teachers. Weiter. So Rav Chelboi, Rav Avira, Rav Yosi Bar Chanina, Ikulahu Atra. So these three went to a particular city. And Aisu Kamaihu Parsika, there was this peach, Dahavi Ilpas Kfar Hinoi. It was like the size of a pan of Kfar Hinoi. The Ilpes Kfar Hinoi Kamahavi. So how big is this pan? Hey Tzayin. That shows you how big it was 5 saw. Achlu Shlish, they ate a third. Vefkiru Shlish, they made half of it ownerless. But Nostalif, they behemten Shlish, they gave a third to their animal. Lashana, the following year, Iklo Rebbe Lezer Hassam, he went there. As the pasuk says, Ve'aisul kamei naktu biyadeh, that it was something that they were able to hold in the hand, which means that it got smaller. V'omer eretz pri l'malecha me ras yoshveba, that this is a land in which there could be salt for the people that are on it, which means it could, it's on the schus of the people. So that the schus of the people is minimized, so then the fruits get smaller too. Rabbi Lezer ben Levi ikla legavla. So he went to this location, and chazinhu lahanhu ketufe. He saw these clusters tabikaime that were there ki igle, just like these types of cakes that are clustered together. Omer agolim ben hagafanim. He says that there's these agolim between these grapevines. Omerle ketufin inhu. Omer eretz hechnisi perasayich. Bring back in your fruits. Lami at moitzia perasayich. Who are you bringing the fruits for? Well, Arbim, for the Arabs. Hello, sh'amdu aleinu b'chatosenu, because they're standing here in our place. Fine. So it's interesting, again, this whole notion of something which gets worse is salt, because like we see, something that turns bad turns into salt. We find that by Ashes Lot. Lashana, the following year, Ikor Rav Chilo Hasam, Chizim Lahabi Kaimi Ki'izi. Arma Izim Ben Gafanim, Arma Le Zil, Lo Tavid Lon Kicharach. Do not, Lo Tavid Lon Kicharach. Do not do like that of your friends. Fine. Tanurabanan. B'berchoseh shel Eretz Yisrael, when Eretz Yisrael is prospering, and when we see that there's prosperity in the land, so what ends up happening is base saw oisa chameshes ribua kurim. The measurement of one saw is able to produce 50,000 kur of fruit. B'shivata shel tzayan, when it comes to the dwelling of tzayin, base saw, one saw oisa shivim kurim. They can produce 70 kur. Desanya. Omer Meir Anira Isi Bevikas Beishan. I saw there Beis Shah that one saw Oisa Shivim Kurin, as we said, produces 70 kur of produce. We know there's no greater land which is able to produce more than Mitzrayim, because Mitzrayim represents the ultimate level of materialism, of Gashmish. Nemer Kigan Hashem Keretz Mitzrayim. Tzayin is like the best of the best. Mitzrayim was great for growing things, and Tzayin was the best in Mitzrayim. The Havi Merabuba Malachim, because that's where kings used to grow up. Says Rashi, Sarv Shel Malchi Yisrael Hakosma Dabru Ganai Shemordu BaHaKadosh Baruch Hu. Those Yidden rebelled, and that's where they lived. That's where the leaders were. There's no rockier area in Eretz Yisrael than Hebron. Because what do you do with rocky land? You can't plant there, so therefore you use it as cemeteries. So that's what Hebron was. Befil hachi Hebron mevuna al achas mishiva b'tzayan. Nonetheless, Hebron was built better one from 77 of Tzayan. Dechsiv v'Hebron sheva shanim nivnatzel of Tzayan Mitzrayim. So my nivnas ilim nivnas mamish was built after Adam b'ina bias libnoi katan. You're going to build for your small child who is Canaan. Koinim shivna livnoi gadol before Mitzrayim. Shenemar evanicham kush uMitzrayim uput uKanan. So it must be that it can't be that you would have built for Canaan before Mitzrayim. Ella, what does it mean? Shemabuna al achas mishiva b'tzayan. That it was better, 7 times better than Tzayan. So Hebron, even though Tzayan was so great and was able to produce 70 core, so Hebron with one saw can produce 7 times that, or 70 times 7, 490 core. So even though the land is rocky, nonetheless was able to produce 7 times more. Fine. V'hani mili b'terashim. That's only because we're talking about a rocky area. Of a shalom b'terashim. If it's not terashim, so chamish meya, then it gets to 500. So terashim is 490. Shalom b'terashim is 500. V'hani mili shalom b'rechasel. That's when it's not, the land is not considered in prosperity. Alva b'rechasel ksiv v'yizra yitzchak be'eretz ahi, and over there it says mea sharim, which is 100 times, which is mashma 100 times 50, which is going to get to our magic number 50,000. Tanya Omer Rabbi Yosi Sab Yehuda Haisa Oisa Chamish Sayin, that a saw in Yehuda used to be able to produce 5 different types of flour. Saw kemach of fine flour, saw soils is also of fine flour. Saw subin, a saw bran, saw morsin of a coarse bran, saw kiboria, which is a black bread. Armaleyahu tzeduku Rav Chanina. Yoe mishavchisu ba'araychoin. You give a good praise to the ground. Beisa achas, regarding to one saw, haniachli abim mimena. I can tell you it was great. That was left one saw, and mashach mimenu chamar mimena. I was able to take oil. I was able to squeeze out from it. Ibor mimena, and I had grains, kitnios mimena, and beans, rice, miknasi, and pastor. Armaliyahu bar amoira. This, the reason why it happened, is bar amoira. Says Rashi, echem emneha amoiri armel Yehudi tchila b'yoisel aretz. The reason why it produced was not because of you, you're a min, but it was because of it was an amoira that was there, that someone that preceded you. Lavar Arab the Israel. So hi Talsa de Kaima Aguda de Yardana. When it comes to these palm trees, they're standing by the Jordan. Kama Gedarsihu Mina. How much they will be removed. Says Rashi, Kama Tamarim. How many dates Atem Gardrim Pimena are you going to remove? Lakitas Tamarim Kri Gedira. Okay. So Mina. So Amalei Shitin Kuri 60 Kor Amalei Akati Lo Alisuba Acha Riv Tuha. You have barely even arrived to the time of its destruction. Anan may of Esrim Kuri Havi Gazrinan Mina. We 120 Kor were geyser. Armali Anan Nami Mechad Gisa Kamina Lach. I'm only talking on one side. So I'm Rav Chis the Meinach said that there was this land which is Eretz Yisrael, which is like a deer. So Lom Eretz Yisrael Nimshul at Tzvi. So there's a famous Gemara question 4, question TV 7. Loimecha Matzvi in Uramachzik B'Sarai, that if you would look at the hide, you would think there's no way it's able to contain the animal, but nonetheless it is able to because it stretches beyond its capacity. So too, Eretz Yisrael you would think should not be able to withstand its fruits, which could mean, first of all, that it has an abundant amount of resources, even though it's a very small land. Alternatively, it just also referring to the people that live there. We know a deer is the swiftest of all animals. So too, Eretz Yisrael has the ability to be able to quickly have its fruits ripened. So a deer is thin, its meat is not fatty. So so fine, it produces fruits, but they're not fatty fruits. So Talmud Lemer, Zvas Cholov Dvash, Shmeinim Mecholov, they're fattier than milk, Umatukim Midvash, and sweeter than honey. Rabbi Eliezer Ki Havisalka Eretz Yisrael, when everyone went to Eretz Yisrael, Omer Paltili Mechada. He said, save me from one, or it says Rashi, Nitzalti mi achas mehen min haklolos hamuras mamikra. Just save me from one of the curses that are found in the Torah. Ki samchuhu armer palti li mitarti. So let's finish this up. Mitarti ki oisvuhu beside ibor. So what exactly does it mean that he established him the side ibor, this secret? Armer palti li mitlas. Save me from three. Shnemar b'hayisa yadi el hanavim, regarding the hands of the Nevi'im, hachayizim shav, those who see emptiness of Gomer. Beside Ami, my secrets of the nation, will you. Zes Said Ibor. So that's referring to Said Ibor. If Iksav Beis Yisrael yichatevu, and Iksav Beis Yisrael don't write, Zes Smicha. This is referring to Smicha, okay? The El Admas Yisrael Yavoy Kamashmoi. Zerki Havisol Eretz Yisrael. Lo Ashrach Mavra L'Ma'aver. If he didn't find a ferry to cross to Eretz Yisrael, Nakat B'Mitzra V'Ka'avar. He used to just create a board, says Rashi. Yesh Mokum She'en Gesher. There's a place that may not be a bridge. U'Mashlich and Eitz Al Roichav HaNahar. And he threw a board over the width of the river, Misafa l'Safa, from one edge to the other. Ve'enu Rachav, it's not so wide. Le'lechalav ki'im oiches biyada b'chevel. He has to hold onto a rope. Tamatuach l'mal, that's tied from the top. Himenu kasha shnei roisha b'shnei seidaisav achmekan v'achmekan b'shnei ever hanar. That's what he used to do. He used to cross like a rope type of a bridge just to be able to get over there. V'ka'avar. Armal Yahut Saduki Alma Paziza. You're a very quick nation. Dekadmisu pumaychu lu'unaychu, that you put your mouths before your ears, which of course has to do, as Rashi says, when we said Nasav and Ishma, that first we said we're just going to do it before we even hear it. So we said this declaration before we even heard all the laws. Akati zizusaichu kamisu. We see clearly that that's still your approach, that you still are someone that is so quick to do something even without hearing all the details. So Malay duchta the Moshe va'Aaron uzachula ana mi yemer de zachinula. So just because, okay, so I'll wait for the next ferry. We know that Moshe and Aaron were not zoicha. So how do I know that I'm going to be zoicha? So if you say, you know what, I'm going to wait for the next ferry, so I'm going to wait until it's convenient to go to Eretz Yisrael, that may never end up happening. TA 6. So what is Soid, what's Ksav? That's what I wrote. Knowing the secrets of the Torah, including Ketz Mashiach, which is not in Tami Torah, which is, we mentioned before, it wasn't really Ketz Mashiach. Over here we see it's the Soid of Soid Ibor Chodesh. Okay, we only needed to be makabel the Chamisha Chumshi Torah and Yoshua, but we were given other ksav because of the averos that we committed. Okay, so maybe there's a Rashi that I missed over here. Let's see. Okay. All right. So let's go back to how that language is to see. I must have come up with that for some reason. So Israel. Oh, so it says Uviksav Beis Israel lo yikasevu. Zesmicha. Okay. All right. Rav Abba Menashik Kepe de Akoi. Rav Abba used to kiss the rocks of Akko. Which basically, when he would get to Israel, he used to show his love to Eretz Israel, and he would kiss the stones. Rav Chanina Masakin Mas Kaleha. He used to fix and clear off the stumbling blocks on the road. And Rashi says beautifully that why would he do this? Mach maschibas aretz, because he loved Eretz Israel. Shahoisa chaviva love, he loved it. Chazer shlo yetzi shemra al hadrachim. He didn't want anyone to say anything negative about the roads. So therefore, he fixed the roads to make sure that no one would have anything to complain about. Rav Amir, Rav Asi, as we continue to the last Amud, to Kuf Yud Beis Amud Beis, Kaime Mishimsha Latula, Umetul Lashimsha. They used to go from the sun to the shade, and from the shade to the sun. And Rashi says, Kishashemesh Hegia Lamakoim, when the sun would reach a certain place, Shehin Yaishu, where they're sitting, Begarsin, they're sitting and learning, Lachama Mas Mikaderes Alehen, and it was getting really hot. Oimdim Mishom Leisha Basel, they were in the shade. And they had sin on the time of the cold. Oimdim in that sail, V'Yoshim Chav, they were in the sun. Kadeshal Yochu L'Hisraim Al Yeshivas Eretz Israel, so that no one should complain about Eretz Israel. So he wanted to make sure that it wasn't too cold, wasn't too hot, so that everyone should just be comfortable and everyone would enjoy Eretz Israel. So they would remove their own discomfort, and also when they were learning that no one should feel that Eretz Israel is not a comfortable place. Rav Chia bar Gamda Megander ba'afra. Rav Chia bar Gamda would actually roll in the dust of the land. He would roll on the ground. That's what he would do. Shenemar ki rotzu avodecha es avoneha. So that those servants who have a desire for even its stones, v'esafar, and its earth, yichaynenu, they desire, they want. So that's what he would do, and roll around. Rav Zera, Rabbi Yomi, Rabbi Dor sheben David ba, the generation which David will come, kategoria betamid chachamim. There'll be many people who will incite and cause problems against the Talmid Chachamim. Karmisa Kamei Shmuel Omer Siruf Achat Siruf. There'll be literally a purge after purge. Rashi says Gezerus al Gezerus. There's going to be decree after decree. Shnemer Ba'oid Ba Assyria, that there'll be 1/10 left. V'Shava V'Hais Levayer, and they will basically come to get rid of them. Tanu Rabbi Yosef Bezuze Uvezuze de Bezuze. There'll be plunderers and plunders of plunders. As Rashi, Shayulim Achar Shayulim. So the question is, what does this have to do? Why Mashiach, David? So Taisa says, I did the Iri Beberchas Oilam Haba. We're talking about Berchas Olam Haba, the Hainu Limosa Mashiach, Nachal Namiha. Okay. And then finally we have the last piece of Gemara. Omer Rav Chia bar Ashi, Omer Rav, Asidin Kol Ilani Tzrak, Shemeretz Israel, all the barren trees of Israel, Shiatanu Paris, will end up bringing forth fruit. Shnemer ki eitz nasapirio to ein of a gefen nasnu chelom. So this Rashi says, Matal b'lemer ki eitz, that it says it is just like a tree that produces fruits, and its figs and grapevines, it gives it strength. Nasapirio af ilani sarak yisupri, that just like wood itself, it's going to be able, which in itself doesn't have the ability by itself, it's wood, but nonetheless it'll produce fruit. So too when it comes to Paris Srak, to Ilani Sarak, it will also produce fruits. Hanulach Shnei Dayanin Gezeros Slikla Masaktas Ksuvos, Hanulach Shnei Dayanin Gezeros Slikla Masaktas Ksuvos, Hanulach Shnei Dayanin Gezeros Slikla Masaktas Ksuvos. We have now finished Masaktas Ksuvos, and tomorrow we'll be continuing the next Masechta, Masechtas Nedarim. Ad Kan.